Hello and welcome to Sidequest. This is our weekly video game show here at Geekverse. I'm your host, Dilmus, and I have with me Taylor Field of Fields, the Great. How are you doing today, my friend?
Great. I am
How did
doing
that part?
good.
Yeah,
I'm doing good. Happy to be here. It's as far as Mondays go, it's a banger Monday.
yeah. You got the kid to bed nice and early. Could start
Mm-hmm.
the podcast a little early. We got some fun games and news to talk about, so
Mm-hmm.
can't complain. Yeah, today we're gonna be talking about Halo a little bit. There was some news that was not recent. It was like 2 or 3 weeks ago now, but we haven't had a chance to sit down and talk about it yet. We're gonna talk about some of the games we've been playing, including Resident Evil 3 for me, UFO 50 a little bit, and then the big main new game that came out here is Super Mario Party Jamboree. So we're gonna talk about that as well. So it should be a fun episode. And I'll save the plugs for later. We'll just get right into it. First up, Taylor, do you want to talk a little? You want to talk a little Halo?
I'd love to.
Halo is in I'd say a weird spot right now, right? Because the show came out, the second season came out earlier this year. They announced that was the last season, so it's canceled. It's done now. And then Halo, the game series, like there hasn't been any spin-offs recently, so it's just Halo Infinite still, which I feel like I don't know. Like, when's the last time you booted up Halo Infinite yourself?
Oh man. I beat the campaign early on, and I played multiplayer here or there,
Yeah.
but I haven't had something really pull me in. I know that they try and do their version of like the battle pass with the seasons.
Yes.
I think there's one going on right now for Halloween, but it hasn't really
Oh,
pulled me
interesting.
in.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the Halloween stuff that usually grabs you, like when I think about Call of Duty, is more fun crossover IP stuff, and I feel like Halo's
Mhm.
never delved into that. It's more just
It's a cool,
within their own
scary
universe.
visor for your
Yeah.
helmet, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I think the last time I booted up Infinite was probably this year. Last winter, I was playing quite a bit of multiplayer. And I think the Battle Pass thing that brought me in around that time was like the Halo 3 map pack situation where they
Mm.
cycled in a bunch of Halo 3 maps that were, I think, all made in Forge. So they weren't, true, authentic, whatever, but it's pretty crazy what the Forge mode is capable of. But yeah, that was the last time I jumped in. And I feel like it has been a pretty simmering kind of thing. Like it launched weird, where like different things came out at different times, campaign versus multiplayer versus co-op campaign, and all these things. And I feel like it never really got its footing. And I think it's in like a decent place now. But I think when you compare it to other big shooter games out there, like the Fortnites or Apexes and Destinies and things like that, that are kind of the live servicey type things, I feel like Halo doesn't really hold a candle to them right now. That's at least what it seems like for me. And Xbox is kind of weird. Like they don't share all their numbers anymore. So yeah, and then that kind of leads us into there was a couple announcements recently, or really one kind of I don't even call it a leak, but one thing that came out, and then some announcements, and the announcements being that 343, which is the studio that made Halo Infinite and Halo 5, did they make 4 as well? I guess they would have, right?
I think they would have, yeah.
Because everything past Halo ODST is just post Bungie. It's all 343, right? So
Yes.
anyway, they have now been rebranded as a studio to Halo Studios. So pretty obvious what they're going to be working on. They announced that they were working on multiple projects right now, and another big thing is that they're switching from the Slipspace engine, which is what they had been using. It's their own homemade engine. They're switching over to Unreal Engine 5, which of course is kind of the big new flashy engine right now, and that's what Fortnite and all sorts of other huge big games use, and it's a great engine with a lot more support than like one that they have to maintain and tinker with themselves to be able to do the different features that they want with it. So yeah, I don't know. Did you have any takeaway when you were reading through some of those articles or like seeing this thing, like mainly even just like 343 being renamed to Halo Studios? Like, did that do anything for you as a big fan of this franchise?
It's just the evolution of the studios. It's just you have Bungie, and then you have Bungie, like a part of it break off into 343, and now we've
Right.
evolved into Halo Studios. I like I like that they dedicated themselves as by the name Halo Studios. I think that it's okay. Yeah, we've got a team that's really just dedicated to making. That's what 343 was, dedicated to making Halo games. But the
Mm-hmm.
name change to me sounds like, okay, we aren't done with Halo yet. We just put out another game a couple years ago, but hey, we are going to be investing a lot more time into this. And as you said, multiple games in the works. I have one that I am just hoping they are
Okay.
doing. I'm hoping I get that Halo Wars 3. I am just
Mm.
praying to God I get Halo Wars 3 with space battles, with everything. Oh my goodness, please give it to me.
Well, let's stop on that one real quick. So maybe you know this off the top of your head, the studios that made Halo Wars 1 and 2, because I believe it was different studios, right?
Yes.
So Halo Wars 2, I know, was made by, well, I guess that one was 343 in conjunction with Creative Assembly. I remember us talking about that when we did the Alien Isolation retrospective, that they worked on that. But 343 is also tagged on that, so I don't know what, I guess it was a co-developed thing. And then the first one was Ensemble Studios, and I can't remember what they've made in the past. Okay, it looks like Age of Empires. It was the Age of Empires
That's right.
studio that came in and made that. So, yeah, would you want, considering that now they've rebranded to this, and 343 is now Halo Studios, like I would expect that and they said how they're working on multiple projects right now. I would expect that Halo Studios would be the one to make that game rather than them getting like an out of house studio to make that while they work on like the first person shooter. But what do you think? And is that what you would want? Would you want 343 or now Halo Studios to make that next entry in the series?
I would absolutely. I mean, you put on that Unreal Engine 5. I mean, holy
Mm-hmm.
smokes! Like, I think there are some great studios out there that have. I mean, they have mastered that craft, and those Total War games are pretty fire. But I think at the same time, like, I'm totally open to them just kind of taking it under their own wing, keeping it in house, and just seeing what
Mm-hmm.
they can really do with it. Yeah, it's maybe a little controversial because I'm sure other people would probably say like, "Oh, just keep it like." If other people are better at doing it, then let the professionals do it. But I'm down to give them a first benefit of the
Yeah.
doubt.
Yeah, and I mean they are tagged as a developer on that second game as well, so who
Hmm.
knows to what extent like the people that are still at Halo Studios like worked on that game. It's always tricky because they're that's another thing with Halo Studios previously 343 is we've just heard so much turnover and leadership changes and stuff. So it's like ship of Theseusness. Like I don't even know if like the studio that made that is like the same people that are there today. But it's interesting because I feel like after Halo Infinite, as much as I really love Halo Infinite, I never got around to the campaign because the co-op thing was delayed and I just have not got around to going back to it. But I played a lot of the multiplayer and really enjoyed it. I think it's really fun, great map design, good new features. Like I kind of skipped. I never played 5. I played a bit of 4, but I kind of been out for the series for a while. And Infinite's really fun, and I'm not in Game Pass right now, but when I'm back in there, like it's kind of one of those things I just always have downloaded on the console, and I jump in and play a game every once in a while. Even then, though, I was still kind of maybe I don't know if hoping's the right word, but was expecting or maybe wishing for that the next Halo game would be made by someone else, just to have like some fresh eyes on the project. I feel like 343 was stuck in this kind of thing where they had such high expectations thrown at them, and like they could never quite get it, and like they're still trying to find that huge Halo game of their own. And
Hmm.
especially now, like since even the release of the Series X or Halo Infinite, and now just like the amount of new studios that Xbox owns, I was like, man, they have so many developers that could play in that sandbox. Like I like throw it at id, like the Doom developers, give them a Halo game. I know they make a very different style of FPS, but if you give them a Halo, they're not going to make a super fast paced jumping off the walls thing. Like they're going to make a Halo game and they're just going to put their own spin on it. And so I guess I kind of was hoping for someone else to maybe take the reins and try the next game out. And you could still have, maybe they'd still be working on Infinite in just as they're going along. But that's kind of what I wanted. But it sounds like that's probably not going to happen anymore. I kind of just assume that everything is going to be Halo Studios going forward. The Halo Wars thing you mentioned, like, where do you think that is one of the projects that they're working on right now? How likely do you put that on?
I'm still flabbergasted. We got Halo Wars 2. I'll never
Yeah.
forget that unveiling back when we were watching. It was E3, I think, is when they did it, and they just dropped it, and that was just one of the biggest highlights of that conference. But that having been the case, I will say that my expectations are low,
Yeah.
but it very well happen. I think there's a high chance, even though my expectations are low, that it could happen.
Yeah.
And I think that the big thing with Halo Wars and all these other games is I think it's really just the story at this point. Well, there's obviously a huge, as you were just elaborating, that the multiplayer following is definitely there. Uh, and the sad thing for me though is I think that there's probably a lesser amount of people that really engage with the story because I feel like the story is a little sporadic and spread around right now.
Right.
Halo 4 did a great job at kind of reintroducing the story, and Halo 5 was just, I think, kind of picking up off of that and just kind of limping itself along, but in an entertaining way. And then Halo Infinite was kind of just it felt like it kind of Halo Infinite is great in its story because it took some of my most favorite parts of Halo Wars 2. And Halo Wars 2 introduced the Banished, and it was super
Mm.
cool to see this faction, and that's the main enemy you're dealing with in Halo Infinite. And so I
I've
think
never
that
even
they
heard of the Banished. That's a whole new concept to me.
it's a whole new concept. So basically, the Covenant, they had this brute chieftain called Atriox, and they'd send him out on these basically suicidal missions, and he kept coming back. And then he started to get kind of popular and
Mm.
followers. And he started just really just hate the Covenant, so he became this rival thing. And so while the Covenant's fighting humanity, they're also fighting him. He's raiding their
Right.
warehouses and stuff, and their weapons, and just becomes this powerhouse. And so the Banished is the main faction you're fighting in Halo Infinite.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah,
Like
it's
when we
just
like is Greg part of the Banish? Like that infamous. Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Gotcha.
Yeah, so there's a that is a whole rich story, and I feel like Halo Wars 2 really did a great job at kind of reviving and creating a really awesome storyline. Halo Infinite really does axe the story that Halo 5 was introducing. Halo 5 is just its own weird thing that just didn't really take off, but yeah, I just think at the end of the day, if they can create a game with that just compelling story, it doesn't have to span over a trilogy. It could just be basic. Halo Reach, for example, just a banger of a game. Great multiplayer,
Mm-hmm.
fantastic storyline campaign. That's something that they need to kind of like touch back down and revisit. Even ODST, which isn't my favorite, but that's a storyline that many people really, really
Super
like.
unique game.
Very
Yeah.
unique, yeah. So I think that they need to just kind of pump the brakes and kind of draw back to something that's a little bit more simple. Uh, Whatever that is, I don't know. You got to be careful because if you were to do something like flood oriented, maybe that could get a little repetitive. You don't want to do something dead spacey, like as
Mm.
a marine where you're dealing with the flood on a ship, because I mean that's been done before already. But there's, as you said, there's a sandbox there. There's a whole world that can be tapped into, and if you have the right people and the minds behind it, then you got a lot of opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like even then, like they just really need to make sure when they release this next Halo game that it has everything all at once when you get the game. It has the campaign, it's got the multiplayer, it's got the Forge mode built in there. I feel like that's such a big deal to have all that stuff. But I don't know, maybe they just choose, like, in this current landscape to go about it differently. Maybe when they're talking about multiple projects, they're talking about having a Halo campaign game and it's just a campaign, just new single player content, and that's just a thing. And they can do that because the Game Pass model kind of lends to that. And it can be like, I don't know, let's call it $40 to get this new campaign thing if you're outside of Game Pass, and then just have this multiplayer thing that they keep working on in perpetuity, which Infinite was supposed to be that, but I think just because of this engine change, I feel like Halo Infinite is not going to last as long as they originally talked about or as long as we expected as fans, and also because the game didn't explode as much as they would have wanted. But I feel like that's maybe the idea now is like, okay, in Unreal Engine 5, it can do more things we want it to do. Ideally, it can make them do things quicker as well. And that's when they can kind of relaunch, like try their Infinite too. Don't call it that, of
Hmm.
course, but come up with a new name and really just in earnest try again with this more live servicey side of Halo. And I don't know if that's what fans really, really want, but I think that maybe that's going to be a big incentive here coming from Unreal Engine 5 because that seems like a big change. The other thing that could be along with that, and Xbox fans might not be happy about this, is I'm sure Slipspace Engine was an engine built for Xbox and for PC and not for PlayStation. And they're a big part of the Xbox strategy now is get games on PlayStation. So that I'm sure Unreal Engine 5 is a lot friendlier and easier for them to port a game over there too. So if it is an all online multiplayer thing, it's good to have that in as many hands as possible and limiting that to just Xbox, which is the worst selling console between the big two there. Like, I think that would make sense if they launch the next one day and date, maybe not even day and date, just a few months later on PlayStation, get that crossplay going on. And Unreal Engine 5 maybe it makes it a lot easier. So I'm sure everything I've just said makes you want to vomit in your mouth, Taylor Field. But like that could be a very viable strategy if they want to make Halo a huge first person shooter again. I think crossplay is a huge part of it, and
It
you
is.
need to get on the bigger console. Maybe the Switch 2 could run it, probably not, but maybe it could. Who knows?
Hmm. Yeah, and I think they kind of put their feelers out with that by bringing it back to PC, right? Originally, when it was just on Xbox, and then they brought it over, and
Yeah.
it's funny because like my brother-in-law, he loosely mentioned he's playing Halo. I'm like, oh, what, did you get an Xbox? Like, no, 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 on PC. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, right on. So it's neat that they've been making things like that available. And you're right. If they want to kind of tap into that market, then they should maybe go cross platform. I remembered, and I'm not sure if you had seen anything on this, but there was a recently confirmed battle royale Halo,
Yes,
but it was
yeah.
canceled.
Yeah, that was another thing here, that because that's been rumored for a long time, but we finally got loose confirmation ish or earlier this
Hmm.
month from a guy who was at 343 at the time. Now he's elsewhere, and he talked about how one of the things he was developing there was a Halo battle royale, and they really liked it internally. It was a lot of fun, and it just got scrapped somewhere along the way, probably because they saw that it maybe had like 2 more years development on it, and that's expensive to keep funding. Maybe they just felt it wasn't going to be as good as the competitors or something in the space. And honestly, that was another thing for me when I read that, and I was reading these two articles in conjunction, the battle royale thing, and then the information of them switching on Unreal Engine 5. I was like, oh, maybe that's what it is. Like maybe Slipspace, maybe it was just struggling to have these huge games with a ton of players, and what you would I guess expect out of a battle royale these days. Because I think different games have different numbers of people, right? Like I think Apex is
Hmm.
maybe like a 64 player game. I think Fortnite's 100. Call of Duty depends on the mode, 60, 100, sometimes even more, right? In terms of how many players you have in there at a time. But maybe that was an issue there with Slipspace. But we know Fortnite, obviously, Epic's pride and joy there, of course, runs on Unreal Engine 5. And we know that it is capable of doing all that battle royale stuff. So I don't know. Maybe that is a part of it. I would be curious to see, like, if they're starting from scratch on Unreal Engine 5, like, are they still going to go for the battle royale thing? Is that still the prime genre or space to go for, or is that like, are those spaces already such predefined with like the people are already in that space? It's tricky. We've seen so many battle royales come and go, but Halo is, one of the biggest gaming IPs, and it was a bigger gaming IP than Fortnite for many years, and now I feel like Fortnite is a bigger deal in the gaming space than Halo, right? Obviously, modern wise, but even just legacy to some extent. So I don't know. That would be an interesting conversation. I wonder, like that's very different demographics, I suppose. But I don't know. Do you
Hmm.
feel like that's maybe part of the switch? Do you think they're still going to try and work on that in a new engine? Because obviously that guy's like not been at Halo Studios for a while now, so he probably presumably has no idea what they're working on now.
Yeah, I think that it's definitely something that maybe they just thought, okay, yeah, we gotta put this on hold because we have new consoles coming around eventually here, and yeah, we got a new game engine we're working on, rebranding, like all this different types of stuff. So I think that there is maybe still a chance that this could be a reality. You're right. The competition right now and the it's just kind of like the platform for battle royales is pretty full between your Apex and your Fortnite and even Call of Duty. Call of Duty's
Mm-hmm.
still just going hard at it. So
Yeah.
it's not leaving a lot of room to play with, but Halo is so unique, right? And if you have
Mm-hmm.
your four-man squad going up against 150 other players, oh my god, that's just crazy to think about in a
Yeah.
huge like Halo map, and then like yeah, blows my mind.
I think it would work perfectly, especially looking at how where Warzone is at now, with like how many vehicles and things are on the map, and I'm sure Fortnite has the same thing. And like Halo has always been built with the vehicle combat in mind, and I feel like it's
Hmm.
much more refined than something like Call of Duty, which feels very janky when you're driving around. So that would be really cool to see, even like the Banshees and other aerial ships and things that
Yes.
exist. And like I don't know, in Halo all the time, there's already like all sorts of airdrops coming down with different things. So I feel like it is just primed and ready. Like you don't really have to think about how to make the game into a battle royale. Just already with the pieces it already consists of, it would just easily fit into one. So it's something I would like to see. And honestly, that is another one. If you want a battle royale to succeed, you got to be everywhere, and that's another one I could see that they would do a date and date PlayStation launch with that as well. Like I feel like that would be part of the success there, and that could be the thing. Like maybe they, in terms of like their PlayStation strategy, it's like, okay, we'll put multiplayer things on there, like maybe the next Halo multiplayer situation, the battle royale. But then if you want to play Halo campaign, only on Xbox. Maybe they keep
Hmm.
that as an exclusivity thing, Xbox PC, in order to keep like some element of like, okay, you're gonna get, if you are a Halo fan, you should still be buying an Xbox. But if you're on PlayStation as well and you want to jump in there, we're not going to stop you. I think that would make a lot of sense, especially with like Bungie's in a really weird spot right now with Destiny and some of their situations at their studio going on recently. Obviously, they're acquired by PlayStation in the last couple of years here. So I don't know. I feel like it would be a pretty decent time if they can get this battle royale out in like I don't know, within a couple of years, but I don't know if even who knows how long they've already been working on this stuff and they just decide to announce
Hmm.
these big changes recently, but we'll see. Another question I had for you is just in terms of like they talk about how they have multiple projects in the works right now. We've already just theorized on like, okay, if they split out a campaign versus multiplayer versus battle royale, like that technically counts as multiple projects. Talked about Halo Wars. Is there another spin-off series, another way, another place you think Halo could grow or has space for? Is a spin-off series I'm forgetting about? I know there's like when I go on Steam, sometimes I see random Halo games I've never heard of. They're called like Spartan
Spartan
Assault and
Assault.
yeah, these random ass games. I don't know anything about them, so I don't know. Is there another like I'll just say like even non first person shooter Halo game that you could see them be working on right now?
Spartan Assault. I remember when that first came out, and I bought it for my iPad. It was basically a tablet
iPad.
version. Basically, you
Okay.
just yeah, you have it's a top down view of your guy, and you have like your left trigger or right trigger on the screen with your thumbs, and you just move around and shoot. It's very arcadey. It's a lot of fun. I think I got a sequel. Um, but as far as it goes, other types of game styles they could do. They did. Oh gosh, I can't remember the name of it, but I played. I played quite a bit of it. Gears of War. Oh my goodness, like XCOM.
Tactics is what you're
Thank
thinking of.
you.
Yeah,
Yes, 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 yes. So I think that there's definitely an opportunity there to do something
man,
Halo wise for that. That'd be so much fun.
that would be sick. I feel like Halo is out of all the shooters so much about positioning, and that's what tactics games are all about: repositioning, getting in the right spot, hiding behind a wall, using this thing to your advantage, and even like banking grenades off different parts of the
Hmm.
environment is such a big part of it. Bring in a little like vehicle combat, which I can't think of like a tactics game I've played that has like vehicles implemented, but I think that would actually work really well. It makes me wonder how well a game like Gears Tactics would have sold, and that's a situation where I don't know which studio made Gears Tactics, but I would maybe expect that they would let that team work on that game. But I don't know if now only Halo Studios is allowed to make Halo games. But I would love to see that. I feel like there's a lot already in the DNA of Halo that works really well for that as someone who's
Hmm.
played a million tactics games in my life. So I really like that suggestion. I'm already picturing it, and now I'm disappointed that it doesn't exist. I really want that. And I can't really think of what else. Like I don't know. What if they did like a Halo like cozy builder game? Like I feel like Forge mode is such a big deal. Maybe there's a lot of people who are like into Forge mode but don't want like a competitive shooter. I wonder if there's like some building thing they could do. I'm not sure. Like a factory building thing that could be interesting.
That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll see. Any other thoughts on the state of Halo? Did this get you excited at all? Like, are you wanting to? I guess we played Halo on the 24-hour stream last year. That's probably the last time you booted it up.
I think it
Um,
was. Yeah.
yeah, but I don't know.
Um,
I might when I get Game Pass again, I'll probably re-download it to jump in there. It's always fun to just play a few rounds of that. I still love Halo. It's still just such a unique and fun shooter in this year. I feel like no one's really tried to replicate exactly what makes Halo interesting as a shooter. So I feel like it still holds its own and is still interesting.
yeah. It still has that that just nostalgia for me is very interesting, and I don't have anything else to add. But in closing, it does get me really excited. I think that this has a lot of potential to just really hopefully spread their arms out and start tackling some new and different ideas for Halo, because it needs it. It really does. And Infinite was a good step in the right direction, so hopefully they build off of that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Okay, cool. Speaking of steps in the right direction, let's talk about our the ways you can support the show. Patreon is the best place to go because you can, even for a few pennies, maybe a few more, maybe a little bit more than a few pennies, you can support the show. You get episodes early and ad free. You can join us on After Nine, which is our Patreon exclusive show. Where this month we did a watch along for what the heck, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Two. I
Two.
guess it doesn't have a
That's
subtitle. It's
it.
just called Two. We did a watch along, which was a very, very fun time. So yeah, you want to make sure you don't miss the next time we do a movie watch along. And all sorts of other things you can check out on November 2nd is our 24-hour stream where we do 24 hours of games and trivia and fun things like that to support charity, the BC Children's Hospital. So you can join us for that. Check it out. You can leave a review and help the show grow. You can join our Discord where we're always talking about the latest and greatest stuff. Any other plugs from you, Taylor? What do we got going this week? We got a Venom 3 review that's going to be popping out. Agatha's going on.
Agatha's
The
going.
Penguin show. A lot of TV shows right now. And
Hmm.
I don't know. Any other shout outs for you?
We got, well, this is very brief, very brief. We got the official drop date for Daredevil, and so me and Kirkland are
Okay.
going to be getting into
Is it
the
official?
it's official. Yeah, yeah. So
Whoa.
we're going to be
Okay.
getting into our retro for Daredevil. So I think we're going to be doing starting December, one season a month, I believe is how Travis put it. So stay
Oh,
tuned for
that's a great
that.
format. That's a great
Yeah.
format.
Hmm.
That's very exciting. I personally am very excited to listen to that, so I'm sure many of the fans will as well. Okay, we're going to throw to our quick first ad break. We'll be right back. All right, we are back. Taylor Field, of course, our main topic is Mario Party Jamboree, but anything else you've been playing that you wanted to shout out here?
Oh man, I've not played this yet, but it's been on my list of games to play. So again, all I've really been playing, I've been trying to play a little bit more Call of Duty, but I've really been wanting to get back into Texas Chainsaw. And I found
Ooh.
out recently that they've axed it off of Games Pass,
Oh,
unfortunately.
nice pun there, but that is too bad.
Yes, it is
Because I
not
will not play
ideal.
with you then if it is not on Game Pass.
Well, that's the thing. It's funny because my friend wanted to play Friday the 13th. I'm like, no, that game is dead. How about Texas Chainsaw? I was like, okay, yeah. So he checks it and he's like, oh, it's not on Games Pass. I'm like, what are you talking about? Yeah, it is. He's like, no, it's not there. And I googled. I'm like, oh yeah, they removed it very recently. I guess they just wanted to do like a year on there and then kind
Yeah,
of separate on their own. But they did say that they will eventually probably come back and drop on Games Pass. But this
weird.
has really
Okay.
tempted me to actually just pick it up because it's not an expensive game. It's really, really cheap. And I
Right,
kind
it
of
might be. There's a big Halloween sale on Xbox right now, so I don't know if that's
hmm
part of that sale. But if it is, I would actually consider picking it up if it's like, I don't know, what is it, 10, $15 maybe on sale?
I
Maybe
think
just
it's
now?
around like, well, yeah, I don't know what it is regular these days, but it might be something like that. Another reason why I really wanted to just get back into it is because they dropped a roadmap basically for September, this September to February of just new content they're putting in. There's a new game mode called Rush Week, which I have no idea what it is, but it's supposed to change it up and make it fun how you play the game. There's a new family member, a new victim. They're adding new cosmetic
Ooh,
items, executions. They're also adding a new map. And then what's really cool is they're adding weather variants for the already released maps. Now, there's a bunch of
that's
other stuff
cool.
they added prior to this game, but it just seems like it's really gotten a lot of really cool updates. And I mean, it's been over a year since I played it last, and so
Hmm.
all this just really gets me excited. So I really have just been having a craving to get back in there and just see all the new content that they've put in. So
Yes, it's $25 right now, and I don't think that's a sale price. I think it's just the regular price, so not
that's
bad.
not bad.
I
No.
could be convinced to do that because yeah, I had a great time with that game, and yeah, we just haven't played in a long time. And as you said, not on Game Pass anymore, which is too bad. Do you have any interest in getting back into Outlast Trials? I don't know what they've kind of added, but I know they have had some patches here or there to get some new stuff.
I am waiting the call. When you guys are going in,
Okay,
let me know. Like I am totally there. I would really, really enjoy doing some more trials with you
nice.
guys on that because I don't even know if we got through all like the stage 2
No,
ones.
I mean we got through every map on the first playthrough, and then there's a higher difficulty stuff that I think we hadn't quite finished yet. So there's, and I don't know if they've added. I hope they've added a little bit more, some new levels or variations on the ones that are already there.
Hmm.
I'm not sure. I haven't looked into it, but I was talking to Kirkland last week. I played through Outlast 2. That was an interesting time.
Oh,
Yeah.
very, very nice.
So if you want to
Is
hear my thoughts, go listen to last week's episode of
hmm
Sidequest. I don't want to, you don't want to bore the fans by sharing my takes 2 weeks in a row. But yeah, I played every Outlast game this year, the whole trilogy for the first time. So it's quite the year of Outlast. But yeah, that's a good shout out for Texas. Any other things, or is that's all for this week?
that is it.
Okay.
Yes, that's it.
I got two shout outs here. One is my UFO 50 game of the week. This last week, I finally played some multiplayer in UFO 50, which is not built in, but what you can do is Steam Remote Play. Have you ever used Steam Remote Play, Taylor, in all your years on Steam?
No.
Yeah, you essentially can just like screen share to a friend. They don't need to own the game, and then if you can both like it'll register both your controllers. And I haven't used this in years, and the last time I did it was like pretty janky. But using it this last week, zero latency. It works perfectly. It's like, of course, the coldest take of all time is that Steam is an amazing service, but yeah, Steam does it again. Their Steam Remote Play is great. You don't even need to own the game. So if anyone wants to play UFO 50 with me, let me know. You don't even have to buy it.
That's incredible.
You should buy it, but all I need to do is own it. So yeah, in this last week I've played a bunch of the co-op games. Like about half the games in the collection have co-op to some extent, and some of them in really surprising ways, which is cool. I actually recorded another podcast for someone brought me on to talk about UFO 50. That episode's not out yet, so I'll announce that improper when it's out, because I just can't stop talking about this game. But my one game of the week shout out here is going to be Bushido Ball. I hadn't booted this one up yet because I thought it was like a multiplayer focus sort of one, and it definitely is. The setup of this game is it's kind of like Windjammers, if you've ever played that, which is what the host on the podcast I was on compared it to, which is a great comparison. But also it's just like, it's just like tennis or pong or like a simple thing like that. You're hitting the ball back and forth. You're trying to get it through the other person's side. And then when you get a certain amount of points, you win. The setting of it is kind of like a feudal Japan sort of situation where you're playing as these different like one of the guys has like a full suit of armor, and most of them are kind of wearing like the Japanese like komodo kind of thing. And they all have like their different move sets. But it's just so much fun. There's so many little details in there. The physics of the ball that you're hitting back and forth are really interesting, because sometimes it'll just like lose momentum completely. So like it's not like Pong in that way where it's always moving at a constant rate. It'll sometimes just fall on the ground, and you'll get like a demerit. Like the referee will come in here if you're like stalling for too long. So the referee comes in at really interesting times. But you have weapons that you're hitting this ball back with, and you can like hit each other. And if you do it too many times, you get like red cards and all these things. But everyone's got like you have this roll, and if you do a roll into a hit of the ball, it does like this crazy curve shot. You have like power moves. People have like projectiles. You can like throw shurikens at each other. You can like set up chains of like you can like throw a bomb somewhere, set it up, and then like hit the ball into the bomb and just crush it past your opponent. And then, like I said, the co-op element angle is super fun. Me and my friend were coming up with all these different strategies of like where we would be positioned. Someone's being kind of like the goalie. Someone's up front. Like another really fun thing too is like the ball will just like hit your character if you're standing in front of it. So you don't even need to like have good reaction time all the time and hit it back with your sword. If it just smacks you in the head, the ball will stop and then you can hit it again. So it's super janky, but it's so much fun. There's 6 characters in there that all have a completely unique moveset and playstyle to them. And yeah, I just can't get enough of UFO 50. It's so freaking good. I desperately want to play this game on the 24-hour stream. I don't think the setup will work. When it comes to Switch eventually, I'll definitely bring it to that stream because there's a lot of fun co-op things in there. But this one in particular, I think we would just get lost playing it for like hours. It is just so fun. I could not put it down once I picked it up for the first time. So shoutouts to UFO 50 and one of the 50 games being this amazing multiplayer game that I just can't stop playing, Bushido Ball. It's amazing. So shoutouts to that. And then the other game that I want to shout out in honor of the spooky season here of October. Last year, Taylor Field, I told you about my time playing through Resident Evil 2 Remake. And I finally have gone through and played through Resident Evil 3 Remake. I played through it in the last couple weeks here. And this is a weird game. I was looking into this a little bit. Resident Evil 2 Remake came out in 2019. This one came out in 2020. It came out really, really soon after, and it feels like it. It's a very, very short game, especially compared to Resident Evil 2. And it doesn't have like as much replayability. The first campaign is much shorter. So in some ways I was kind of disappointed with its simplicity, but in other ways it's kind of exactly what I wanted. So after I played Resident Evil 2, a couple of things that like were disappointing to me about it were, one, like the multiple routes. Like in the game you pick Leon or Claire, and like each of their route is like mostly the same. There's like minor differences between them, right? And one of the things I desperately wanted was like just more distinct paths that they go through. Resident Evil 3 feels very much like a companion piece to Resident Evil 2 because it's set at the exact same time, exact same city, setting of Raccoon City. And it's kind of what I wanted from Resident Evil 2 in that way, where you play as Jill and Carlos in this one, and you're just kind of seeing like a different perspective of Raccoon City. They're in a slightly different spot, but there's a couple points where they overlap with an exact location from Resident Evil 2. So in that way, it's kind of what I was expecting from this multiple route element of Resident Evil 2. So in that way, it was really cool. And the other thing with Resident Evil 2, I was like, man, I want to see the city. Like you spent a whole game inside or like in sewers, in the police department, in this lab, and like you barely go out in the streets and see the chaos out there. And so Resident Evil 3 like immediately throws you into the streets of Raccoon City or going through different shops and houses and alleyways. And it was like, man, this is exactly what I wanted out of Resident Evil 2. So it made a really great first impression, but then I think it was just like the lack of depth in the game overall that kind of brought it down a little bit. Like I said, it's very short. Not a lot of depth. There's like 2 puzzles in the whole game. It's like very basic in that way. It's very much on the, as I've been playing a lot through a lot of the Resident Evil stuff, it's like all the games kind of exist on the spectrum of like horror game to action, like dumb, stupid, cheesy action movie in like a good way. I mean, and this game is like fully on the dumb action movie side of things. It's not very scary. Everyone's dropping cheesy little like MCU quips, and it's a very goofy game in that way. So yeah, I don't know. It's been an interesting time. I forget I know you love the movies, but what's your experience with the games? Have you played many of them?
Oh gosh, my experience is it's fairly limited. Me and Ruben played. Ooh, 6 comes to mind. It was like
Okay.
multiplayer.
Interesting.
I think it
Didn't know
was
that had
multiplayer.
multiplayer.
Maybe it was a different one. All I remember is he was like, "Okay, we're gonna play Resident Evil." Turns it on. It's split screen, and I think it was like a versus, and he was just kicking my
Okay.
ass.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So other than that, I've seen him do some other fun things. I know that they're available and on Xbox, and I've got a couple of them that I've downloaded over the years through Games with Gold.
Mm.
It's something that I absolutely want to get into and play, and if not all of them, maybe just that original one. I don't think I can just handle the stress of having like Mr. X or whatever his name is or Nemesis just following you
Yeah.
around the map when you're trying to do stuff. It's like I got enough stress in my life that's just too stressful. But
Mm-hmm.
kudos to you and all the other brave souls that master that combat.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, the games really exist on a spectrum. Like I don't think Resident Evil 4 is really at all scary except for one sequence that's absolutely terrifying to be honest, but like the rest of the game, which is 99% of it, is not really that scary. It really is just dumb cheesy action movie vibes to it, and I feel like that kind of that change is very apparent from 2 to 3 to 4 now that I've been playing through them. And so 3 is not a very scary game. I'll say that like the element of it with Mr. X in Resident Evil 2, really terrifying, really great mechanics, really really well done. Nemesis in this one, I was pretty disappointed with. There's a couple sections where he'll be like chasing you through the level, but those levels are so short that you kind of get through them really quickly. It's pretty obvious where you have to go. Whereas Resident Evil 2, it's like there's no clear path of which way you should go to best get away from him. So it adds that like stress factor to it. So that could be very stressful in 2. But in 3, I didn't find Nemesis to be a great villain. He comes up a lot in different ways, and I never really found him that engaging or terrifying. Some of his boss fights are okay, but even one of them was really janky because like it's designed like the only way you can get through it is like if you have the grenade launcher and the landmine thing, because he like runs around the wall, so you have to shoot it on the wall and then he'll walk on the wall and hit it and blow up. And you have such limited inventory space that I didn't go into the fight with my grenade launcher. So over the course of like 10-15 minutes, I put every last bullet I had into this guy and he just didn't do anything because you had to do this mine thing. It's like, that's kind of stupid. Like that's kind of annoying that's the only way to do it. So like even that was a cool set piece, it ended up being kind of a disappointing fight in that way. So I don't think you need to be as scared. Like Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, terrifying. Do not recommend if you get scared. That game is horrendously terrifying. Resident Evil 8 though, it has a couple spookier moments, but like even that is fairly like action movie forward and more about like puzzles and going through like I don't know. At least that's what I've found, and I think one of my coping mechanisms is I play these games on the easiest difficulty possible, so that reduces some of the stress of like, okay, I always have some ammo in the reserves. I don't need to be down to like 3 shots left and have to make sure I'm, taking care of every last one. So I think you should get into it because these remakes are really good. Resident Evil 8 was really, really good. I mean, 7's great too. It is just very, very scary. And I think these games go on deep sales, even if you don't have them yet. I think I pick up Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake for like $10 each. And honestly, this game, if I had picked it up for $80, I would have been salty because I beat it in 4 hours and there's no replayability because there's no different routes in this. You play as Jill and Carlos, but they kind of just rotate at different points in the story, as opposed to Resident Evil 2 or 4 that has the DLC that kind of adds the separate route to it. So yeah, really, really short. And even Resident Evil 2 had like these bonus scenarios once you beat it, or there was like different characters you'd play as and like do little challenge missions or puzzle missions. And this doesn't have any of that as well. So I'm just shocked at how little content is in this game. And I think just because of the timeline of it, it makes sense. It came out 1 year later. They probably weren't working on it for very long. It very much feels like Resident Evil 2. Like they just took that engine exact, like copy paste, and then just like made the new areas. So yeah, I don't know. It feels like a pretty minor game, and because of that, I wouldn't particularly recommend it. Honestly, like in Resident Evil 2, like the police station's kind of the main first big area, and it's huge. It takes like 3 hours to get through. I feel like my first time, hidden keys everywhere. I got to get these hidden items. Nemesis or Mr. X is coming at you from all these different angles. It takes forever, but it's like a really satisfying dungeon. In this game, the street section at the beginning is kind of the most intricate, and that was done in like 30, 40 minutes. And then everything else after that was like very surface level. You just kind of go through. There's maybe one or two times you have to backtrack, but it's like very, very simple in that way. So yeah, I was pretty disappointed with this game overall. It was fun to finally play as Jill Valentine because she's such a fan favorite. I've never played in all the Resident Evil I've played now. I haven't played a game with her as a playable character, so to get to see her a little bit was cool. And I think another disappointing thing was at the start of the game, you're in Jill's apartment, and she like goes to the bathroom, and she's like starting to trip out a little bit, and then she like is turning to a zombie, and then she like, wakes up, and it was a dream all along. But it's like it's kind of sets this tone for like this psychological horror thing, and then it like never does that again. There's one point later on where she is like knocked out and has like a fuzzy dream, but even it's not really like a horror element in that same way. And that was like the only time they did that kind of thing. So I feel like they kind of just hinted at this type of thing that was going to happen that never ended up happening again. So yeah, I don't know. I'm it's been fun, playing through all these Resident Evil games the last few years. I think that if this game had been the alternate route for Resident Evil 2, I think that would make both these games so much stronger if they'd bundled it into one like bigger pack, and even that would have been like 20 hours of gameplay, not a ton. So it's kind of just a little bit frustrating how they kind of piecemealed it out and are charging so much for it. Once again, I got them on sale, so I didn't pay too much. But yeah, it's interesting to see how close paired these games are, because even a game like Resident Evil 7 and 8, which has the same playable character in back-to-back games, they feel like very distinct experiences and very separate games, even if they are sequels, whereas 2 and 3 feel like the same game that's kind of just split out and given to you as two separate packages, two separate discs, So,
Right.
And from what I've listened to, it sounds like there's a lot of cut content from the original Resident Evil 3 from this game, sections that they just removed completely, certain boss fights and things. So I don't know. I guess they just had to get it out for the shareholders in time. That's kind of the vibe I get. It wasn't like a buggy, glitchy game or anything, but it's just like really short on content. So yeah, there you go. There's Resident Evil 3. Some points I really enjoyed. Fun enough time to go through, but like overall a very shallow experience, unfortunately. But I've knocked it off the list now, and I don't know which one I'm going to play next. I think I bought 6 and the Resident Evil like 1 remake or remaster that they did. So one of those two, but I don't know which one I'm going to go to next. We'll see.
Flip a coin.
Yeah, that's where it's at this point. Cool. There you go. There's Resident Evil 3. Let's jump into something a lot more pleasant and fun and squishy and fuzzy. Super Mario Party Jamboree. So, we do reviews here at Geekverse, but like, what are you gonna do? Review a Mario Party game? It's kind of just like, what am I gonna do? Play for 30 hours over the course of a weekend? I'm not gonna do that. It's Mario Party. I'm gonna play a little bit here or there and enjoy it at a time. But tell me what your experience with this game has been like. Kind of, what have you done so far, and how's that been going?
So far I've done one mode, just one classic party, just me and Madison. I did one online against randos on the world, and then I've done the board building mode as well.
Board building? Oh my god, I didn't even see that in there.
It's not as, maybe that's the poor choice of words. It's when you talk to oh my gosh, why am I forgetting his? Yes.
Okay.
Talk to
Kamek. I would not describe it as a board builder personally, but I know what you're talking about.
Poor choice of words.
It's a single player mode. Yeah. Okay.
That is basically the extent of my immersion in here, but it's been, because you're right, like Mario Party, it's Mario Party. There's a lot of things that are very similar, and so when you hop into this, I feel like, okay, there's a lot of things that I'm able to really pick up on. It's very familiar, a lot of similar things from the previous iterations, but there's a lot of really new little things that I really do appreciate in here. And I can't for the life of me recall if some of this stuff is from previous Mario Party games or if it's new things. I think
Yeah.
most of it is just new with what they put into it. And I'm really, really liking it. I'm having a blast with the mini games. The online was a lot of fun. And it's interesting because I'm pretty sure what started off was just a 4-player online game. We got about halfway through, and then I started. You wouldn't notice it unless you were like looking at it, but then I realized, okay, one human player was still left, even though the other characters had human player names. They were AIs. So when people drop out, it just
Oh,
switches to AI, and I know that
okay.
because when I was doing the mini games, I would hit start. The other guy would hit start whenever, but as soon as I hit start, the two AIs immediately hit start
Right.
following. Like, okay, they're computers, so that's how you kind of know,
You
right?
suss it
So,
out. Yeah. Okay.
mhm.
Fair enough. Tell me, what board did you play on?
I did Goomba Island, and what was the other one that Madison wanted to do? Oh my goodness! Hang
You
on,
just
let me
played the
just
one
look at
board though,
them.
right?
We did two. I've done two
Oh.
boards.
Oh, okay.
Da.
What do we got? We got the Coconut Mall one. It's not called that, but
Raceway.
oh, the Raceway one. Okay. Tell me how'd those games go for you?
I
Give me the
lost.
snapshot of the. Give me the recap of the match.
Roll'em Raceway, I thought I had it and I lost. Madison just cleaned house as Birdo
Nice.
as always. Just
Right. Yeah.
the whole top part of that map just totally set me for a loop. And I learned the hard way that if you use like the quadruple dice, it sent me past the star. It wouldn't let me actually buy the star because it just zooms you
Whoa.
along. Unless I
That's
blinked and I missed
crazy.
something. But like I used it because I thought, oh, I'm gonna guarantee get the star. Hell yeah, let's go. And I used it, and my character just blasted by it at super speed. It would not let me get it, which I thought was crazy. Like,
That's
okay,
that is insane. Yeah, I never would have thought that would happen. Is that part of the
yeah,
mechanic of the Raceway one? Is that you can't stop midway through because you're driving?
maybe. Again, I'm sure it might be something I overlooked. I just all
Okay.
I can piece together at this point was like it happened so fast. I thought I had the
Yeah.
star, and I just didn't. I was 20 spaces ahead of it. I was like, well, that
Maybe you because you
backfired.
rolled that many dice, you were driving so fast that you couldn't be stopped. That
Maybe,
could have been.
yeah. So at the end of the day, though, yeah, that was a fun map. I would definitely play it again. And as you're doing laps, every time you go past go, you get like more coins, like Monopoly style. But like two
Okay.
laps, you get 20 coins. 5 laps, you get 50 coins. So
Interesting. Okay.
it's fun how they has that kind of like factor in there. Um, Easy to mess around and fudge around with other players though in that map. But the Goomba Lagoon, I enjoyed that one a lot, and that's the one I did on online multiplayer. And I cleaned house. It was a slow start, but in the back half, I got 3 stars in one turn, and I ended it with
Mm.
4 stars and came first place, which is great because the online you have like a division rank, and as you do more online games, you get points, and you're start off in like division D and you can work your way up to A. So we'll see how far I get working my rank up, but I really am enjoying the achievement factor because superstars had the achievements, but it was just like star constellations. It wasn't anything super
Right.
crazy, but I enjoyed seeing that. Here I love how it actually has benefit because I think you have 7 maps. 3 of them, I believe, are unlocked through doing the achievements, as well as I
Oh, is
think
there a third? Because I saw that there was two to be unlocked, but is there a third hidden one somewhere?
there was okay, yeah, King Bowser's
Because I know
Keep.
there's
How
the
to
Mario, the
unlock
West World, or the Western World one.
Western Land, Mario's Rainbow Castle, and King Bowser's Keep, which
Oh,
are
okay,
all
cool.
unlockable.
Nice. Okay, I didn't see that there was a seventh one there. That's nice. I got
Hmm.
the Western World unlocked. Do you have that one unlocked yet?
I don't have that one unlocked. No, not yet.
Okay. Uh, yeah. In terms of play time, play experience, I have a similar situation to you. I've tried to dabble in a few of the different things. So me and Muds did a 15 turn board on the. It's not called Coconut Mall, but I see it and I look it and I see
That's what I
Coconut Mall
thought.
from Mario Kart. I'm kind of salty they didn't just call it that and go with that because that'd be a fun continuity if that started in Mario Kart, became a thing in Mario Party. But whatever, I can headcanon that one and call it Coconut Mall. So we did that map, and then after that, I tried some of that single player mode that you were talking about, where you're just on the board, you're going and collecting stuff. We can talk about that in a little bit. And then me and Muds just kind of went to the mini game map because we didn't have a ton of time tonight, and just played around with some of the mini games. Tried a couple of the bonus modes, like the cooking one, for example. and then the co-op thing you can do, and then just some other random modes as well. So yeah, I tried to dabble a little bit here and there. Haven't played any online whatsoever yet. So it sounds like you just did like a board online when you did the online
I did the
game?
board online. Yeah, each
Okay.
player gets about 20 seconds to roll their dice, take their
Okay.
turn, and then after that, you get like a few more seconds to like take a specific direction and
Right.
whatnot. So yeah,
Makes it move along pretty well. That's a good idea.
exactly.
Cool. Yeah, I really I'm loving the game so far. I think I was shocked first of all, right off the bat, how much intro stuff there was. Not like
Mm.
there's like some huge endless cutscene or anything. Like there is that, but it's more just like introducing you to all the different elements of the game. And I was like, wow, there is a lot here. There's a lot of different things. There's these boards. You have to unlock boards, which I don't remember having to unlock boards in a Mario Party game like ever. I maybe that's happened before, but I can't recall. I've always just had them all ready to go from the start. Taking you to the plaza where there's all sorts of different random things you can do, and then over to like the bonus modes. And it just felt like that intro sequence took like 15 minutes for them to explain everything that's going on there, which is pretty crazy. Like it was a lot of stuff, and so I was impressed right off the bat. And yeah, like I think the Coconut Mall level is really cool. Like I think they added to me what appears to be some good mechanics in terms of like actually giving you as a player good, interesting decisions to make. I feel like that doesn't always happen in Mario Party, where it's like, okay, if you have over 50 coins and you walk by a Boo, of course you're going to steal a star. You're probably just going to steal a star from the person who has the most stars at that point. And like, okay, it's not really like an interesting decision after a while. But I feel like one thing I really enjoyed too is maybe like there is still, of course, a lot of luck, a ton of luck. The game's mostly luck, but there was other things in there in the Coconut Mall level. What you're doing, it's like a three leveled mall. So there's a lot of ways you can go up this escalator. You can go stay in this one. You can go up the elevators. You can get around the map in different ways. And there's 4 stamp stations located around the map. And when you go get these stamps, they essentially are worth 10 coins if you go past go again. But then if you get all 4 of them, you get like a bonus 10. So you can get 50 coins. And so I feel like adding a way like that to like, even if you suck at mini games, a way that you can just guaranteed get coins if you just go in certain directions by these stamp stations and then pass the start is like a really cool thing to do, and it gives you like a reliable way to keep this money flowing through. And something that could you could be lucky and not really think about it and still walk past these things, or if you're a player that wants to think a little bit more about it, you can kind of strategize how you're going to go through. And it's like, do I think a star is going to go that way, or was one just there, or is the star not on my path but I don't have enough money yet? I just feel like it adds like some good decision making, which is not something that I would really expect from Mario Party. I would just expect them to amp up the chaos of it. So that seemed really cool. I was really into that mechanic of it. And then yeah, the mall just has like all these different shops, and at certain points they'll do like flash sales at these shops so you can buy things for cheaper. So yeah, overall I thought it was really cool. I thought it was just a really, really well designed map, really well like intricately designed, and a lot of like interesting new little mechanics in here that overall make it a bit more of a game of skill instead of a game of luck completely. So to me, that's plus. I like that kind of thing.
You mentioned that, yeah, this factor of a game of skill instead of luck. They incorporate that into the multiplayer as well, because when you're joining into a game or starting up a game, you get to pick one of 4 items. You could pick chain chomp whistle, double dice, mushroom, or there's one the steal a star tool or whatever. So they've definitely incorporated a lot of that to help people kind of implement strategy. And I think that's a great idea of having it so you're not just reliant on just the mini games and if you keep losing and yada yada yada. So I think that's definitely a nice different play styles. And I mean, sometimes you get into Mario Party and your luck is not with you. So you need that help.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw even too. I think I had to play a board to unlock it, like the pro mode. Did you read through
Yeah.
that? Yeah, so I don't know if that's been in past Mario Party games. I'm sure they've had some version of it, but pro mode is essentially like I guess a more competitive version of Mario Party where they just take out some of the luck elements of it. Like you always know where the next star is going to go. What were some of the other things in there?
Like
you pick the mini games like
appearing.
yeah. Oh, yeah. There's no more like random star blocks. You also know what the bonus objective is going to be at the end of the map. So if it's like walk the most steps or win the most mini games, like that's something you can. I mean, mini games you're always going to try and win, but it's something that you can at least like plan once again, strategize around. So that was really cool, and I don't remember all of it. But there's like 10 pages of changes that they make to the formula to make it a bit more of a consistent experience. Yeah, the minigame one I thought was cool, where now whenever it's time to play a minigame, 4 of them like pop up on screen, and then everyone votes like which one they want to do. So you can kind of like pick one that you're stronger at, or maybe one that your certain friend is really weak at, or something like that. So I really want to try. I mean, I don't know what more I'd want to play, the regular mode or pro mode when we do it on the 24-hour stream, but I definitely want to do a 4-player map with all you guys and just like have a good time.
Absolutely.
Try some of that stuff. So yeah, I think that seems like a really cool addition in the mix there as well. So yeah, I'm curious to see what other kind of mechanics exist on these other maps, the ones that I haven't played yet. Go ahead.
I was just going to mention the buddy system.
Yes, please go ahead.
So it was it was very cool how they introduced like a random buddy. We have Wario, Luigi, Donkey Kong. I didn't get to do the Donkey Kong, but the Wario. Each one has different abilities that they give you, right? If you happen to snag them, and Wario will just keep giving you coins when you roll a dice block. I can't remember what Luigi's was. I think Luigi adds an extra like couple steps to your dice block, and Donkey Kong I can't remember, but it's fun because if they drop on the board, they have about 3 turns before you get to them, before they disappear, which they will reappear again later on after a few turns.
A different one, yeah.
Yeah, so it's neat that when someone gets to that buddy, you just basically play a mini game to get to him first and unlock him, which is really kind of cool. It maybe sucks because if you're the one who works hard to get there and you lose him, but it's a fun dynamic.
Well, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up. I think that's another really fantastic addition, and it works a lot better to me than the way it worked in Super Mario Party. So in this one, like, I love that it's a guaranteed spot. Well, I guess the spot it'll first appear on the map is random, but you don't need to land exactly on his square to get past him, right? You just have to walk right past him, and then you'll trigger that mini game. Whoever triggers it, they get an advantage in that mission to come. And the first one that we did, you had to like climb a huge mountain, like an obstacle course up the mountain.
Yeah.
And I would not have won were it not for the bonus that I got for picking, for like being the one to get there. You get like 3 apples right off the start. Muds was right behind me at the very end. So if I didn't get those, there's no way I would have beaten her. And so I feel like you still get an advantage there, but then it's like not guaranteed that you'll get it. So I think that's cool that you get a little advantage in the minigame. And those minigames are different. They're bespoke minigames from the other ones, as far as I can tell. Like the Bowser Jr. one was really fun, where it's just like a little death arena. Bowser Jr.'s up there throwing all sorts of death traps at you, and who can survive the longest in my room of death, and you get me as a buddy. Whereas Yoshi's is like, yeah, climb this mountain. Like, it's kind of fitting for the character as well. And like, you know, there's 20 characters or something playable in this game, so I feel like if each one of them has their own unique thing, that's gonna be like fun replayability of seeing all those over the course of, you know, as we play this game for the next few years. But also that's like a cool mechanic on top of it. And like, they're really powerful. You only get them for 3 turns once you get them, but you get like you get double rewards of anything. Like if you land on a blue tile, you get 6 coins instead of 3. You can buy 2 things from the shop, I'm pretty sure. If you go past the star and you have 40 coins, you can buy 2 stars. So that's also huge. But then also, what I love from the strategy side of it, and I didn't expect that I'd be talking so much about strategy on this Mario Party episode, but it's cool that these are the things they seem to be focused on, is that if you walk past someone who has a buddy, you steal it from them, and obviously they could grab it back from you. But that adds like a good element of strategy of, man, I got to be getting away from them. I maybe got to use like maybe a green pipe, which teleports you randomly. You wouldn't think to use it often, but like maybe that's a great way to get away from someone who's right behind you, for example, who has like a mushroom or something. And so I feel like that's a really cool part to it, but also like that feels devastating when you lose your buddy. So it's something that you're trying to keep on top of. So yeah, really, really great addition. And yeah, so I was looking into that. That was something that was added in, I think, one of the 3DS Mario parties was the buddy system. But then that was like the main selling point, I feel like, for Super Mario Party, the first one on the Switch. And in that one, from what I remember, you would just collect buddies like all over the place. Like they'd just be everywhere, and you could get like sometimes 2 or 3 or 4 buddies. And then they would like improve your rolls. They would give you just different dice that you could use. And I found in that game, whoever lucked into the most buddies would just win. Because if you got like 4 buddies, you'd have so much control over the map that you were just unbeatable. And sometimes, because of raw Mario Party luck, you would just never get a buddy, and it would be so hard to win. And I didn't own that game. I didn't play a ton of it, so this is just my kind of, after playing a handful of matches, kind of impression of it. So I feel like this is just a much more balanced way of doing it. It feels much more competitive and interesting, and it adds just a little kind of unique flair to it. So I'm really impressed with that system. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, no, they really, really did a good job with it. And I think that Yeah, losing the buddy, that definitely caught me off guard. But yeah, the ability to purchase extra stuff with them is really, really neat. And it just, as you said, the diversity of the mini games that feel different from what they've got, and like after your round completes, it's very, very unique. The Luigi one sent me for a loop because that was the online match I did, and
Okay.
it was, I want to say it was like 10 different rooms of puzzles. So you have
Hmm.
to like,
They're long. The
they
buddy
are
challenges. Yeah.
long. They are long. You had multiple rooms where you had to build. There was like 5 pictures, canvas prints, and you had to stack them on the wall in the right order to form a full one giant picture. And then
Oh,
the
okay.
door opens, and you go into the door. In the next room, you have to push barrels to get through to create a path to the next door. After that, you go through, and it's like find the one statue that's the odd one out from the other ones. Then after that,
Mm.
the final like the final door to unlock, it was like there's 4 symbols and the symbols glow in a certain order, and then you go to this keyboard and there's like 30 symbols and you got to punch it in like the right order. It's like holy shit.
That's crazy.
And you have to rush because everyone else is catching up, right? It's totally
Hmm.
crazy.
Yeah, it's great, and like we were saying, like you have so many characters in this game that there's a lot of variety to be found there. It seems like because obviously at most you're gonna have 4 people in a standard game there, and I mean I love that because especially like Mario Party Superstars, I love everything about that game. I wish there was just more content in it, but like there was already enough content. I just loved it so much. I want more. But I think the biggest disappointment for me really was just like the character roster was really weak. It was like what
Hmm.
10 characters, maybe 8. I think it was probably 10. The bait like Birdo was like the only freak in there. The rest were just like very, the Mario, Luigi, Peach, Daisy, like the ones you kind of expect. And
Yeah.
so I love that this game has like a really huge roster, tons of characters you can play. Like I can't recall ever playing as Bowser in a Mario Party game. Normally he's the villain, but they made like a fake Bowser. Imposter Bowser is like the Bowser here in this one, so you can actually play as him, which I really liked. Bowser Jr., like Ninja, I think is one of them. Pauline is like an unlockable one. So there's some you have to unlock too. So I just love having all these characters. I think that's a really cool addition to it. Just having more freedom in that way is fun. Even if they all control the exact same, of course. But I don't know, variety in this and like Mario Kart is important to me. So cool to see all those. Who's your go-to? Because I know you're a Luigi guy, but now that you have so many more options, are you still going for the classics?
I'm definitely yeah, Waluigi's my guy. But when I'm looking at the other characters, I'm just thinking like, oh, well, maybe like Spike seems kind of cool. I wouldn't mind
Right,
trying
Spike. Yeah.
Spike. Yeah, there's a few others in there though. Like I have to try like
Boo
even
is cool.
Boo. Boo
Yeah.
is very cool. Yeah, Boo's very cool. What they
I
got
wish
Shy Guy,
Dry
right?
Bones was in there. I think Shy Guy is a playable character.
Dry Bones. Yeah, that would have been cool.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't know how you unlock the other ones. I assume just leveling up, I guess. But I don't know if you have to do specific things on a specific map or something to find them. But we'll see.
Uh, I happen to have that here in order to unlock. Oh, this is like a whole tutorial. That's not what I was looking at. Uh, Interesting. Pauline can be found zooming in on the small sandy island right to the left of Minigame Bay. Zoom in to interact with her, and she'll be available to select next time you're playing.
Wow.
That's
So it's like
pretty
a
easy.
secret interaction.
Like a
That's
secret.
crazy.
Ninji, simply rotate around the hot air balloon until you reach Rhythm Kitchen. Zoom in on the hills to the right and directly behind here to find Ninji waiting. Yeah, that's.
I
I'll
never
share
would
my
have thought
screen
that's
so
how
you
you
can see
unlock those
this.
characters. That is wild.
This is actually kind of funny. So I don't know how well you can see. Can I zoom in? Oh, perfect. So yeah, you go to Minigame Bay and you zoom in with the binoculars, and she's just chilling
Wow.
on the beach, and then boom, she's joined. And then yeah, Rhythm Kitchen. You zoom in here, and she's just on this
On his
island behind.
own little island. And they're
Zoom
the
in,
only
and then
two
boom.
unlockable characters, right?
I believe so.
Man, I'm
Yeah.
kind of surprised with how easy that is. You can do that from the get go. That there isn't like more of those. I guess they needed 20 unlocked for like that battle royale mode that's in here that I haven't
Hmm.
tried out yet. So maybe that's the reason why. But that's funny. I'm gonna go do that right away. Get all the
Yeah.
characters unlocked. Seems like you have to grind a bit more for the maps. I don't know what exactly it was to get the Western World one. I think it was just leveling up enough. But it sounds like you've played as much as me, so I'm surprised you haven't got it yet. But I don't know. Maybe when me and
I
Muzzy were
think
doing
it's
the mini
I think
game
it's like
mode,
achievements, right? Like just doing like a
maybe
bunch of
yeah.
achievements, and you go up through the achievement board
Yeah,
with those
yeah,
unlocks.
something like that. Yeah, talking about the single player some more here. So you had mentioned, yeah, that kind of builder thing, which is that it seems like every board you can kind of drop in there as a certain character, and you can kind of roam freely, like you're still on the specific lined path grid, but you don't have to like roll and stuff. You can just walk around that path. As you go, you'll talk to different people. Like on the Goomba Lagoon one, it's a bunch of Goombas in like pirate garb, and they'll be like, "Oh, I need this bolt or I need this screw to build this thing to get across this map," or I need this letter, or I need this thing from the shop, and the shop's closed, so you got to go get this other item. So a lot of it is just running around the map, finding random items, bringing it back to the people. Then the other part of it is you go up to a certain NPC, and they'll be preparing the party. They're getting the board ready for the next party, which I think is cool framing for it. And then you just have to do a mini game against them that's kind of somehow themed. So like at one point, the Koopa on the map was like, "I'm scared of boulders." And I can't do my job until I'm not scared of boulders. So you have to do this boulder mini game, and then he's inspired after you showed him how to dodge a boulder, and then you get these stars, and you can use them to unlock things. And so I don't know. I assume that's how you would get new boards, but I got a new board without having to finish that. I did spend some time in that. I maybe spent half an hour messing around in that mode. So I don't know. It's like I never would have requested or wanted single player content for a Mario Party game, but it's in there and I had fun playing around with it. So I don't know how much I'll stick with it, because honestly, now that I know it's not used to unlock stuff, like I don't know how much I'll really play it if it's just playing mini games that I'm going to be playing elsewhere. But it's cool. It's a cool addition. Like I don't dislike that it's in there. What did you think of it? Did you do Goomba Lagoon or did you pick a different
I
map?
did Goomba Lagoon. Yeah, I completed. I got my 30 mini
Oh, you
stars
did
off
all of
of
it.
it.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Did
Did
anything
all.
interesting happen when you got to the end of it?
No, no, they were just like carrying forth, I think, to the next board. At least
Okay.
I should have looked, because yeah, you unlock your different quests or objectives you can check, but I just assumed I did all of it because I got the 30 out of 30 mini stars and it prompted me to go to the next board. I did not go, as I said. I just kind of thought, well, that was fun. I'm gonna go do the actual Mario Party now.
Yeah.
So that's where I went.
Yeah, I was curious because when me and Muzz went to the minigame bay, and we're playing through a bunch of random mini games, and you can scroll through and see the different categories. It's like free for all, 2v2, 3v1, all sorts of different mini games. And one of the pages, and they were all blacked out, is like boss fight mini games. And I was like, what the heck are those? Where do you do those? I'm guessing it's from like that Bowser factory mode. Like I don't know if you've seen that one. It's kind of like if you're in the boards and next to minigame bay, it's kind of like one of the other things in there. Huge imposter Bowser. I don't know. I didn't click on it yet, so I'm not exactly sure. I don't know if it's really related to that, but like I'm very curious to see what that means.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I one thing that I wonder if there's enough mini games in here. I think maybe one of the things is like they had so many of these other modes that have mini games to them, and as we talked about, like the buddy mini game ones that wouldn't appear in the normal pool. That, for example, me and Muds, when we were on minigame bay, and we had done a board already, we went through and we're trying out some of the 2v2 ones, and very quickly we like played through all of them, like every single one, and I feel like there should be a few more in there. So I don't know. We'll see how I feel about that in like a couple months time when I've played a couple more boards of it, and we'll see how I feel. But one thing that is a huge complaint, and this is just a more Nintendo Switch complaint than anything, is the fucking controllers and like syncing controllers. I hate how that is on the Switch. Like I get what they're going for there, but I just find like, okay, reconnect, you click the things, and then it takes like 10 seconds for it to go up and down, and then it finally connects. Because if you ever are doing a motion control minigame, it requires that you only have one Joy-Con to do that. So it kicks you out of your two Joy-Con. Me and Muds both have our own Joy-Con set, so we were playing like that. But to do a motion minigame, it kicks us down to one Joy-Con on its side, first of all, which is always janky when you ever had to use it on the side. So then you do the motion control minigame with that, and then I guess you switch back to your two controller thing, but like each time you have to sync the controllers again to do that.
Ew.
It's like, I absolutely hate this. So really what I'm just going to end up doing when I play this game is just disable the motion control minigames. But now I'm getting less bang for my buck, and now a bunch of the minigames are gone, and when we're going through the 2v2 ones, like a quarter of them were motion control ones, and now it's like, I guess the only time I'd play those if I'm in minigame bay and we're just like, okay, let's commit to a minigame session with the motion controls. But I just feel like I'm not really going to see those ones, and it's like, I don't know. I guess that I wish that just wasn't even a thing at all. And I know it was a complaint a lot of people had for Super Mario Party as well, is that they really went hard on the motion controls, whereas Mario Party Superstars, none of that. It's just classic minigames, no motion control nonsense. So I don't know. Is that something that like when you played, did you disable motion controls or what
Oh
did you
yeah,
do?
I axed
Yeah.
it. I wasn't playing with those.
Yeah, okay. I just hate syncing controllers. It is the most annoying thing. It's so janky. I
Hmm.
pray to God the Switch 2 is better at doing that than the Switch 1. That's a random little complaint, but in a game like this, it really added up pretty quick.
Hmm.
Um, the main thing I really want to try that I haven't got around to yet is that like battle royale thing where you have like 20 players on some of these mini games. I'm
Yes.
sure it's like a different set of ones. And I'm really excited to try that out. I just think it was a very fun idea in the marketing when I saw that. So you haven't tried that, right? You just tried the
No.
multiplayer boards. Yeah. So any other anything we haven't talked about yet? Any other thoughts here?
No, I can't think of anything. If I had to put one more thought out, it's just I hope that this is the Mario Party where we get DLC for. I was
Yeah.
thinking Superstars is like a prime title to just drop DLC, new maps and everything, but I feel like that game might be dead in the water for DLC
Oh
if
yeah. Definitely
ever.
not happening at this point.
But yeah,
But
so
I mean,
I'm.
and part of that is like this game has a map from Mario Party 2 in it. The
Hmm.
Western world is ripped out of there, right? So it's like, okay, I guess they could have done that as a DLC map for Superstars, but instead they're just putting it here. So yeah, I think there's no chance that that game's getting
No.
DLC at this point if they're putting older Mario Party content in this one. Like this just
And
seems
maybe
to
it was
be
a
the main one.
thought. Maybe it was a thought. Someone from Nintendo's like, you know what? Why don't we just make a new game and charge $79? Like,
Yeah,
that's a great idea.
it is interesting. Like a lot of their DLC strategy for like a lot of the sports games, which is where I'd compare this to. It seems like the strategy for it is like, okay, we're gonna release the game like unfinished, and then we're gonna piecemeal the rest of the characters and maps to you, and that's what they've done for like, I think they did that for Aces, they did that for Strikers, they did that for Golf. So like they just that's kind of their strategy there. For something like Mario Kart, that was more like later on. I think the game sold so well that they're like, okay, let's do some DLC for that. And then other games like Smash and Splatoon, I feel like have more straightforward DLC that you would expect. And so Mario Party kind of exists. I don't even know where, and I feel like I can't recall ever seeing a DLC for any Mario Party game. The only thing I can remember is like Super Mario Party. They added online play later on, like close to when Superstars came out, which was really weird, but it wasn't like a paid thing. It was just something that they had obviously been working on in preparation for Superstars, same engine and all that. So they just kind of like grabbed and slapped it into that older game. So yeah, we'll see what they do because this doesn't feel like a game that they held back on content to like piecemeal things release. Like I feel like it has enough content to justify its price, given all the bonus modes, given that it has 7 maps. That's more than Superstars. I don't know. I think Super Mario Party only had 4 maps. I could be wrong. Maybe it had some other bonus content, but I don't think it had that many. So this feels like a pretty full content game, especially like all the playable characters, that kind of thing. So yeah, I don't know what they would do, but I do think that it has been a long time since on Nintendo Switch Online, the expansion pack, that's how you get access to the Game Boy Advance and the N64 games.
Hmm.
And then they had the Mario Kart DLC on there. They also had, I think, Animal Crossing DLC and maybe a Splatoon thing, if I'm remembering correctly. But they haven't had a new thing on there in a long time for DLC. I feel like this could be kind of a perfect one for that, to put it in there if they were wanting this to be the next huge Mario Party game, which it seems like it. I feel like this is the one they'd want to lay their hat on, is like, this is the Switch Mario Party game. It kind of seems like that's what they're geared up for. Like, it's just such a robust game.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Which, not what I expect from Mario Party. I feel like I have very low expectations for Mario Party, but I feel like they went all out here, and I'm very happy with it, other than the janky-ass motion control bullshit. So, I guess, last question for you. The Goomba Lagoon map. Is there any unique mechanic going on there when you're playing the board game version? What's going on there?
There is. If you trigger the mountain or the volcano at the top,
Uh-huh.
then lava blasts over like all the top locations up there. And if you walk across a lava spot, you lose 3 coins. And so if you like one guy basically had to trudge through 4 spots of lava, and that's 3 coins each. So now he's down 12 coins. And that
Like, you don't have to
lasts
land
for
exactly on it if you just walk
nope,
over
just
it.
walk
Yeah.
through. Yeah, that lasts for a few turns. A couple other things. They have fishing buckets, which are pretty cool. So
Okay.
the Goombas, you're fishing, and you can get a maximum of 15 coins. If you, so basically, you'll throw your line out and you'll get like 4 coins, and the Goomba will like, oh, do you want to keep fishing or take it and go? Like, oh, I'll keep fishing. So you go throw the line out, get 7 coins. Like, okay, so now you're doing pretty good. You're at 11 so far. You want to keep going or you want to stop? You can go again and maybe get like 3. So now you're at 14. And if you choose to stop, you take it. But if you go over that 15 mark, the bucket spills all the coins out and you don't get any of
Nice.
it.
I love that. That is a great, simple decision.
Yep. Yep.
That's
Tides
awesome.
go in and out too, cutting off like
Right.
access to certain parts of the map. So there's lots of little things that are really, really cool. So,
Nice. Yeah,
mhm.
it seems like all of them kind of have their unique mechanics. We'll see. I imagine the Western World Mario Party 2 is probably pretty basic. I remember that one having a train you could like ride around on, but otherwise, if they don't up res the like actual gameplay of it, I would imagine it'd be a simpler one. But we'll see
Mhm.
what happens there. Hopefully, I can unlock all these before, or one of us can unlock all these before the 24-hour stream, so we have access to everything there. At least we know how to get the characters now. You just got to freaking zoom in on
That's
them.
right.
It's so
Yeah.
funny. And I think maybe my last point here, I just remembered this, is when me and Muzz were playing the mall level. First of all, she took a very early lead. She was up to like 5 or 6 stars. The rest of
Oh
us
my God.
had like 1 or 2 at most. Mario, I think, had like 0 until like the end of the game last turn, and he like stole one with a boo. Like this Mario was playing like garbage. He was the CPU, so I'm not making fun of my friend named Mario or something. But that's how it was going. And then eventually I caught up. I got the buddy. I got who did I get? I got Yoshi, and that was a huge help. I think I got double stars with Yoshi, and so eventually I climbed up, and I was up there to like 7, 8 stars. And then I think what happened at the very end? I think me and Muds both ended the game with 8 stars by the end of it, because right at the end I had 9, she had 8, and then Mario, yeah, he stole mine on the last turn with that boo thing, brought me down to 8, so we tied at the very end, which was crazy. So then it went to who has the most coins, and she had 10 more coins than me. She had
Oh,
70, I had 60. So she got the win in the end. But it was like, I don't know if I've ever had 8 stars in a Mario Party game before. So I don't know. We'll see if that was just because me and Muzz were playing against some. I think we were playing on normal mode CPU. So like Mario was kind of shitting the bed, and the other guy, he was doing all right. So we'll see what it's like when we're having like 4 human players that are smart and intelligent. But that seemed like a lot of stars to be given away. And obviously, there's ways to get double stars. The mall one had shops everywhere, so you could buy all sorts of items to help you get stars, of course, and ways to get coins. So it kind of feeding the economy of it. So I don't know. Maybe it's just that map in isolation, but I'm curious to see. It's out because based on your reaction, it seemed like the other maps were not giving away stars like that one was. But once again, it
no,
might
it
have just been the level of players.
yeah, the Goomba Island didn't feel like it was giving away stars at all. I have had a lot of success though with those star stealing spots where you just throw a spot like either 2
Oh,
steps
I
ahead of you,
love those
2 steps.
traps. Those are so
They're
cool.
nice. They're really,
So
really
cool.
handy. The other thing too in multiplayer, these shops have limited supplies of items. So I think all the shops
Right.
share how many
That's a
items.
pro mode thing too. I saw. Yeah.
That is okay. Okay, well that's cool. I like that dynamic a lot. So it's neat when you go to the store and it's like, okay, there's only one of these items left. There's like 2 of those ones left, and
I
so
think
it
that's a great
really
idea.
makes it,
Yeah.
again, as you've been saying throughout this review, strategy,
Yeah,
which is
decision making. Yeah,
that's
yeah.
right.
Now the decision is more than just like, do I go left or right? Like, there's a little bit more
hmm
to be done as a player. So that's cool. That's good stuff. Right on. This was a fun discussion, Taylor, as it always is. Next week you will be joining me again here because the new Call of Duty comes out this Friday.
hmm
So we will be playing that and we'll be sharing our thoughts. We got to plan a night to do a zombies run, I think, prior to the review.
Oh, it has to happen. Oh,
Yeah. This
yes,
weekend's very
please.
busy for me, so I don't know when it's going to happen, but at some point we got to make a zombies run happen. And then, yeah, I mean, I'm going to play on Game Pass, so I'll have access to everything, I guess. So I will
Perfect.
jump into some campaign, hopefully play some multiplayer. We'll see how much time I have this weekend. But that'll be next week's episode, along with any other games we've been playing, news, and all that good stuff. But thank you, Taylor, for joining me. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And we'll see you again then. Bye.